The bench press is an iconic gym bro move. When people find out that you lift, a lot of the times their minds will jump to bench press and they'll ask how much you can lift. However, is the lift really necessary for your training goals? Well, that's what we're going to cover in this video. G'day everyone, and welcome back to Powersthetics Fitness, helping you build your body to both look and perform at its best. In today's video, we're going to be looking over the bench press and whether it's necessary for your training goals. Starting off with for strength. And almost no other exercise in the pushing chain is better for building up strength than the bench press. It is hands down the exercise that you'll likely be able to hit the most amount of weight with, and therefore, if you're a strength-based athlete, it is definitely one to incorporate into your program. For hypertrophy, I do think it is a very good exercise for building up both the middle and the lower pec. However, I do not think it is as good for building up the upper head of the pec, which is often done in the incline press. Therefore, I do not think it's as optimal for hypertrophy. I also think that there are better options for building up both the middle and the lower pec compared to the bench press, that being the dip, which is definitely my favorite pressing movement. Next up, is the dip good for endurance? And honestly, not really. I think that it's definitely a movement which is better for a middle to lower rep range. It is not very athletic and therefore not as good for endurance-based athletes. You're much better off going with something like a push-up for high reps. Next up is power, and generally there's not much power exertion during the bench press. It can definitely be good for building up the strength in order to then transfer into power, but you're much better off going with something like a landmine press. So as we've covered, the bench press is likely best for both strength and a little bit for hypertrophy. But the question is, if you have an injury, what do you do about that? Well, when it comes to the bench press, the likely culprit for injury will be the shoulder joint. Therefore, you could opt for something like the floor press, as it provides a safety net for your shoulders. Additionally, I would recommend doing some work to build up the rotator cuff and the shoulder strength so you can build up to regular bench press. If you're in a situation where you do not have access to a bench setup, you are much better off opting for something like the dumbbell bench press, or if you don't have access to dumbbells or a bench, simply going for something like a high rep push-up or weighted push-ups. So bottom line, is the bench press necessary? I would say kind of. I think that it's definitely good for strength and can definitely have its place in hypertrophy. However, if you're in a case where you do not have access to the right equipment, or if you have an injury, there are definitely ways around it. Therefore, I think the bench press is definitely a good thing to have in your program, but is not the be all end all of whether you can have good strength gains in the push chain. But let me know what you guys think. And there we have it. If you found this video helpful, be sure to drop a like. If you've got any questions regarding anything you saw in this video, be sure to comment down below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you want to see more content like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button. And if you want your own program where I break everything down for you, be sure to check them out in the website, link in the description down below.